The light in Grandmother's eyes was not bright, but it was steady. It was the kind of light that did not demand attention, the kind that stayed alive even when everything else began to fade. People often noticed her wrinkles first, or the way her back bent slightly when she walked, but few noticed that quiet light. It was the light of patience, of years spent loving without conditions. Grandmother lived in a small, old house at the edge of the village. The house was simple, built with bricks that had seen many seasons. The panes had peeled off long ago, and the wooden door creaked whenever it opened. But the house was clean. Everything inside had its place. There was a sense of discipline in the way she lived, a discipline shaped by hardship and responsibility. She woke before dawn every day. Even when her body ached and sleep came late, she never waited for the sun. She believed mornings were a blessing, and blessings should never be wasted. Slowly, carefully, she sat up on her bed, her feet searching for the worn slippers beside it. The floor felt cold, but she had learned long ago not to complain about such things. She wrapped her shawl tightly around her shoulders and walked toward the small prayer corner. Her movements were slow but steady. Her hands trembled slightly as she spread the prayer mat. Those hands had once been strong. They had carried buckets of water, kneaded dough for a hungry family, washed clothes until the skin cracked, and wiped tears from frightened children. Now they carried memories more than strength. After prayers, she sat near the window with a cup of tea. The window faced the road, a narrow, dusty path that connected the village to the outside world. She watched it every morning and every evening, as if the road held answers. Children passed by on their way to school, laughing loudly. Farmers walked toward their fields. Life moved forward, step by step. She stayed still. There was a time when she was never alone. The house had once echoed with voices, footsteps, and laughter. Her husband's voice had been the strongest among them, calm and reassuring. He had been a man of few words, but his presence filled every corner of the home. Together, they had faced poverty, illness, and uncertainty, but never fear. Fear never stayed long where love lived. When he died, the house changed. Silence entered quietly, without asking permission. Grandmother cried, but not loudly. She had a son to raise, and grief had to wait. She folded her sorrow into her daily routine and became stronger than she ever knew she could be. Her son became her entire world. She lived for his meals, his studies, his future. She sold her bangles to pay his school fees and smiled as if it meant nothing. She stitched his clothes late at night under a dim lamp. When he was sick, she stayed awake for days. When he failed, she encouraged him. When he succeeded, she thanked God. She never told him how tired she was. When he grew up, the world opened its doors to him. Education took him to the city, far from the quiet village. On the day he left, she packed his bag carefully. She added extra food, extra clothes, and silent prayers stitched into every fold. "Ami, I'll come back. This is only for a while." She smiled, though her heart felt heavy. She had learned not to let fear show. At first, he came back often. The house felt alive again during those visits. He brought gifts and stories. She listened with pride shining in her tired eyes. She cooked his favorite dishes and watched him eat, satisfied if even she barely touched her own food. Then he married. His wife was polite but distant. She did not understand village life, nor did she try. Slowly, the visits became shorter, then less frequent. Phone calls replaced footsteps. Even those calls became hurried. "I'm busy, Ami. Next month, Ami. Please understand." Ami always understood. Understanding became her habit. Loneliness became her companion. Every evening she sat near the door or the window. The light in her eyes softened as the sun began to set. Sometimes she imagined hearing footsteps. Sometimes she thought she heard her name in the wind. Hope visited her often, but never stayed long. Years passed. Her health weakened quietly. Her knees hurt, her eyesight faded. Winter nights became colder. Still, she refused to complain. She believed complaining only added weight to a burden others already carried. Neighbors checked on her, bringing food or medicine. She thanked them warmly, but when they left, silence returned. Silence sat with her, ate with her, slept beside her. One winter night, she fell ill. Fever burned through her fragile body. A neighbor tried calling her son. The phone rang again and again. No answer. Grandmother heard the ringing and slowly shook her head. "Don't worry him," she whispered. "He must be busy." That night she could not sleep. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Memories flowed freely. She remembered her son as a child, running toward her with open arms. She remembered her husband's laughter. She remembered a life that had passed quietly, without applause. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but her lips curved into a gentle smile. Before dawn, she prayed one last time, not for herself, but for her son's happiness. When the sun rose, the light in her eyes was gone. The village mourned her deeply. When her son arrived days later, regret walked beside him like a shadow. The house felt empty, unfamiliar. He touched her shawl, her prayer mat, her belongings, and understood too late what love he had delayed. Some love waits forever. Some strength remains silent.